Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity! Yes, that's right, folks. They couldn't keep him locked up. He's back! Welcome back to the... And YouTube's working too. Woohoo! Party! Yeah, I had a nice little vacation there, nice little week off. Took it easy for a week, just completely disconnected. And if anything, it's probably good for everybody to do that every once in a while. And we're back in the saddle. We got another Broiler Chicken Show here for you. We'll have some fun, maybe try and crisp these shows up a little bit, get them a little bit more YouTube friendly. Actually, I even sent a notification out to our Facebook page that this video is on. So I'm going to see if we can try and incorporate Facebook into all these posts. I sent it out on Twitter, of course. Oh boy, here comes crazy more 2020. So I sure hope you're enjoying the ride. And actually, it's kind of good just to take a little time off and then you can actually ask yourself, is this Beamish guy even helping me? I watch this show Monday to Friday. I watch the show on the weekends, and then he disappears for a week. How am I doing? Maybe my trading's getting better not listening to this guy. Who knows? But anyway, hey, there's a sales pitch for you. I always talk myself down, so I don't. I'm not one of these big shilly kind of guys. I have a bit of experience in the market, so if anything I say can help, that's what this is all about. Everybody on YouTube watching this, we always should start right off the top with a simple message that this is, and actually I think that I combined three words. It's information, it's educational, and it is, and for legal purposes and all that kind of stuff, you have to understand that this is purely entertainment. So the free YouTube videos, we kind of give it infojutainment? Who knows? Something along those lines. And if you find a value in the programs that we offer here, keep in mind this is all free. Nobody's asking you to do anything. The only thing, if anything, you like the offering, you heard something, hey, I never heard that before, or hey, I might try and incorporate that into my thinking going forward. And you happen to make some money with it, well then, maybe throw us one of those likes, throw us a subscribe, let you know when we have one of these new videos coming up. Maybe even, really, interestingly enough on the site, most of the students that go through the program, I simply ask them, I just say, look, at the absolute best thing you can possibly do for TRI and really for our community is if you liked what you saw and you had some fun, well, tell a friend. Same thing here with this YouTube channel. If you think that there's some value in all this and you think somebody else could benefit from the information, tell a friend. And then that way we can get the word out. On balance, I definitely think that the educational material that we teach is extremely valuable. I mean, this stuff works. It's beautiful to watch the various different student and site members go through their sort of personal growth process and actually learn the process and really understand what it takes to really sort of run a small business of trading with the expectation to make a profit. One of the ways that I sort of like to see the development of this community, this website, of course, we have, gee whiz, now we have an whole army of programmers and stuff working away on trying to build out the site and the signaling systems and stuff. So, that's one way that you see site development. But interestingly enough, one of the best ways that I like to see site development, and really it's all about community, is I do like to force myself just to take a week or two off every once in a while and just sit back and just watch and just see how the community interacts, see whether, the information that I'm trying to impart to people is actually getting through, see whether they are taking setups and things, the wheels don't start falling off the bus, the moment that I leave. And I have to say, I spent a good deal of time watching the videos. Keep in mind that on the site we do basically about an hour and a half video every Monday to Friday. And then, of course, I give you guys a rant here on the weekend for free on YouTube. So the community stepped up, and the various different members who offered to contribute while I was gone. They produced some really fascinating material that I even found incredibly educational. Sjord, of course, is our CTO, and Julian is our monster Simple FX trader of late. So you often, and site members often see that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think Julian's going to try and offer sort of a quick sort of 1 or 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever summary of what he's seeing in the market, swinging and day trading in and out of gold and stocks and oil and having lots of fun trading. And actually, what was really interesting about this past week is Julian actually clearly, what I really liked was just level head. He went through the process of showing everybody how to appropriately lose money, which you're going to have to learn. You have to understand, especially if you want to be quote unquote a trader, you are never going to be right 100% of the time. Just get rid of that just right from the get-go and understand that you are going to be wrong, and how you act when you're wrong is really the ultimate determinant of whether you're going to survive. So actually, interestingly enough, and on balance, Julian has, I won't give you the hard numbers, but he has far exceeded any expectations that we had of managing the stake that we gave him to a trade with a few months ago. So it's all gravy as far as I'm concerned, but the problem with a lot of traders is they have a lot of success and then they end up just giving all the money back. So if anything, and site members, we got about a dozen, actually more than a dozen people in the hangout here. If you didn't watch Julian's baby powder report, I thought it was an excellent anecdote of, hey, you're never going to be right all the time, so how you act when you're wrong, don't let a bad situation blow you up. And I was very, very proud of Julian's presentation. Sjord, who's our CTO, of course, working feverishly on getting the dashboard up and running. This whole site is his baby, and we are in his hands. And as soon as he gets his screeners all polished, man, this thing is just going to rock and roll. I did find it really interesting that our breadth indicators actually had already started flashing warning signs that, hey, the rally's getting a little bit old. The broader market's starting to fall apart a little bit here back sort of mid to the end of April. And sure enough, our fast breadth indicator is completely fallen out of bed, suggesting that, ideally you want to trade with the wind at your back. Through this sort of window, you start getting buy signals on your various issues that you're watching, and of course, rock and roll. When you start seeing breadth indicators roll over and start to, flash sells, what this is basically telling you, you're hunting long ideas. Well, you're basically trading with the wind in your face. So be careful. It's still building out. It's a daunting task to get all this stuff up and running, but just fantastic to see that, basically TRI is continuing using this developer cycle to complete our sort of development through this. Because once we get back into a bull, I want to have this site just humming along and just smoking, which I think is probably like 2021, 2022 kind of idea. And we're just going to be absolutely flying. But we had to take the time and a lot of money and a lot of patience and just work with programmers to build all this out. I tell you, man, it's one daunting task. Just an FYI for site members, I went through the library and I cleaned up a lot of the links. I've sort of cleaned up the cheat sheets so they're nice and simple for you to access, and not a lot of redundant information as well. A lot of these links really tried to just crisp stuff up here, getting ready for the new school term. I think actually we should probably put that TRI Facebook link on there as well. And this is, of course, a continually building up process. I'll continue working away on it, but I just want to give an FYI to the site peeps that I've actually gone and cleaned up quite a bit of that. For your reference, it's helpful stuff. So as I was saying earlier, had some fantastic presentations. On Tuesday, one of our site OGs, where do I want to go? I want to go over here. On Tuesday, one of our site OGs did just the most beautiful presentation on positive mental attitude, on understanding sort of how you approach life, your perspective, how it affects your learning, how it affects even your health, by Shark Toshi. So absolutely fantastic content. So site members, if you did not check out Tuesday's presentation by Shark Toshi, oh my goodness, you have to see that. You have to watch it. And I would even suggest, I even asked if, and I think we did, but I even asked if we could even cut that video segment out and actually make it required watching for our level 1ers, because I was so impressed. So site members, if you didn't get the slide deck, and I guess this is a link to that slide deck, maybe we could get that a hyperlink. I don't know, guys, if you can help out Murad or Kevin if you're watching this. But I mean, just inspirational, you know, like when I came back. And of course, I took a break. I didn't want to do anything on the site. So yesterday, I just sat and watched all these data. And I was just like, damn. Just 1 + 1 = 3. Just so beautiful. I have to say, I was, you know, like, I think it's half of it is a confidence issue, which is fine, because we all, if anything, it's an excellent anecdote of traders. But my director, and when I do these public videos, my show director and producer, and just absolute sweetheart, Kevin, out of actually, I beg your pardon, His Royal Highness, the Duke of Roswell or Albuquerque, I can't remember which. He actually did a episode through the week, and I was so inspired by his work that, you know, I have to show you guys here on YouTube. And this is the whole point of TRI, is that it's not just Brian. I mean, this is our community. And like I said, I was so inspired by it that, and I even asked him, and I hope I don't embarrass him, but, you know, through his daily brief, and he did the show, basically an hour long. I mean, just absolutely fantastic stuff. But basically, about a 3 or 4 minute piece here. I mean, it's just poetry that I have to play it for you. I'm sorry, Kevin. I already asked him, and he said it was okay. But just listen to this.
So I'm looking at a weekly chart. I just figured I'd start at a fresh chart and maybe just kind of go through how I use some of the TRI tools, and we'll just, you know, I think it's a good idea to zoom out and take a look at the weekly, you know, especially for new people, you should be focusing on the weekly and daily. And, you know, even just looking at this chart right here, I just see some amazing things that have happened. You know, I think Zoogie Sticks, if that's how you say his name, he banged out a double on BTC, which is awesome. And I can see how he did that, you know, just following some of the basic principles we talk about here at TRI. And like, sure enough, here we go with BTC doubling for anybody that was willing to step in and buy in a reload zone. And I like look at this and just, it's funny in hindsight, it's easy to go back and see this, but I mean, this is the Leprechaun right here. I mean, basically we watched it happen, the 88.6 Leprechaun setup. This is what I've based my trading off of practically, you know, since 2017 when I first started at TRI, I kind of took on the shark setup in altcoin trading and, you know, started with 786 and buying 786 levels, you know, off of previous W breakouts. And damn, just, you know, I think Ian was the first person that came in and said, well, maybe 88.6 is better, and I agree with him, and I changed my plan at that time. And like, I mean, I just look at that and I'm like, damn, man, I think everybody should see that and be like, yeah, that has a tendency to happen. And I was fortunate enough to buy this level down here. I also nibbled at 786 too, but yeah, I mean, it's just funny to look at. I'm like, holy shit. It's funny to see it in hindsight. So anybody new to trading or new members of the site, like, that might be listening right now, I mean, this is core TRI teaching right here. I mean, we had this big wide weekly W come in at the end of 2018. You know, there was opportunities to buy this breakout at that time, but you know, here we go. Like we launched up to 14K, put in a top, and we've been grinding down since. And like, sure enough, in that big mega dump in March, it just look where the support came in. I think you can also look at it like there's a couple other things. Like there's a pretty important trend line that I found pretty powerful here. That support that came in off this trend line off this W here. And that's also the 200 MA, I think, if I'm correct. Let's see here. I think I have the 200 MA. Yeah, so I mean, the 200 MA was a little bit higher here on the weekly chart, but you can see that that's, you know, support came in below the reload zone here on this move. Cool. People are saying 8-to-1s and stuff. I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of GAN targets and things like that. So I mean, anything, if anything to take away from this, it's just like, holy shit, these reload zones work, you know. And you could have even, you know, even if you would have bought Mountain Man at this point, which I don't, you know, that's a little high, but you'd still be doing okay now. So like, I think you know, it's important to look at these weekly charts and really get how these fibs work and the importance of the reload zone. If you're new, or maybe you're starting level 1 soon, you know, this is the kind of stuff we talk about here. So that was cool. I saw that today, and well, I mean, I've seen that this whole time, I suppose, but I was looking at it today thinking about what to talk about, and I'm just like, holy shit. And then I start seeing people in the lounge talking about banging out doubles on BTC, and I'm just like, that's cool. So congratulations to everybody that stepped in and bought here. I mean, I remember specifically when this was dumping, I was sitting in the lounge just saying, like, I don't know, I have to step in and buy here. This is what my trading plan says. You know, I like to buy the retracements to W breakouts in or below reload zones. It's just...
Did you just hear what he said there? I mean, that's what I wanted to show you. And I apologize if everybody's like, boring. But he just said the secrets to trading. I mean, so much that I had to swear there. I mean, when I watched that was it was poetry. And, you know, my job here at TRI is to make you people famous. If you, Kevin, you're ready to fly. And his last statement there was just absolutely perfect. It was in my trading plan. I had to take the trade. I don't know what the hell. And that's the thing, you know, the crazy part about it is nobody knew what the hell was going to happen here. I mean, it was chaos. And yet his trading plan said, I'm a big fan of buying weekly W's at 88.6 levels. So I have no choice. I have to buy. It's what my plan says I have to do. I mean, it was just like, I mean, all the talk about fibs and trend lines and moving averages. I mean, it's just a reiteration of everything that we teach. Like, this is sort of setting the table for you. Do you like fibs? Some people like fibs. Yeah, fibs actually work pretty damn well. You know, understanding market structure, things like weekly W's are pretty darn powerful. I'm sure you people on YouTube have heard me talk about weekly W's before. I don't really talk too much about trend lines here in the context of my trade setups per se. But, you know, if you are a fan of trend line, especially this is a weekly, I think that's a weekly 200 SMA, which is in essence that 4-year business cycle moving average. A lot of people on YouTube really, or, you know, social media, they really like that in crypto. But if anything, it was just a absolutely perfect, you know, how do I say this? I'm really worried about these people. Are they in good hands? Are they following the principles? And when I come back and I listen to this kind of conversation, that a lot of new people to the site, they're not, they don't know what's going on. They haven't got a clue. And then hearing somebody like Kevin talk like this, I mean, hell, I'd subscribe to his newsletter. And he's so eloquent, and the chart's nice and clean and crisp and simple. And it was just poetry to my ears, so much so that I had to mention it to you. I was just so impressed. Congratulations, Kevin. Congratulations to the whole community. I mean, I was, like I said, just stunningly impressed. I'd show you Shark Toshi's presentation, but I'll leave that up to him. He might want to make it public. You know, he put a lot of work into this presentation, so I won't go into any more detail on that. And then what I thought was really cool was on Friday, one of our crypto specialists on the site, Colin, who actually was an analyst on another crypto site, he actually had a friend of his that I think is fairly popular in the social media space. I think his name is Jack Sparrow. He asked him to come on the Daily Brief, and they just had a nice chat about what they're seeing in the market. Very different perspective. But I think it was really refreshing for the community and a little different perspective. It's interesting because we've actually made reference to Colin's buddies quite a bit recently, and I noticed while I was on vacation, the market went up and visited his buddies. So our idea that level was going to be traded to, I think it proved to be correct. So congratulations, Colin. Nice analysis. In essence, good call. And thank you for inviting your friend over. In fact, actually, interestingly enough, I actually sent a message to Colin to relay to Jack. I don't know whether he's going to watch this or not. But one of his questions was, you can have Adam and Eve bottoms. The question is, can you have Eve and Adam bottoms? And it turns out that actually there are some sites and some sort of chart encyclopedia people. The Blukowski guy, I put a couple of his images. They were shared in the lounge. I thought they were really good sort of cheat sheets for the community. And indeed, Jack, to answer your question, according to Mr. Bulkowski, I think his name is. It turns out that there is Eve and Adam bottoms as well. So, 1 + 1 = 3. We all can sort of help each other out a little bit. But thank you very much for your commentary there, Jack, on the Friday show, and basically helping the community out. I was really pleased to see that. Really put a smile on my face. So, long and short of it here, I think the community was very well served in my absence. And on balance, Brian's refreshed and recharged and reassured that if I just happened to drop off the face of the earth, I think the community actually could survive and continue on and do well with each other. So, way to go, TRI. Specifically for this public community. One other thing I should mention, this is, we have our level 1 class program. We do it actually, the level 1 program, we do it off of a third-party site, but we will ultimately be integrating that into the actual site itself down the road. But the point I wanted to make was we actually have a new school term coming up for the entire school program. Interestingly enough, I'm not quite sure why, but the management team decided to start the whole school program on my birthday. Thanks, guys. So that's why I wanted to take that break ahead of time. We're getting ramped up for a new school term. And I think we had tentatively agreed, and we've got now about a week window here. So what I'm going to do is I'll do another Broiler Chicken Show next Sunday. And from now until next week, every day I'll make reference to it. Why don't we do a raffle for a seat in the Level 1 school program? So the way that you can participate in the raffle is to, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of fun stuff. Please, thank you. But put your name down in the comments and something along the lines of, yes, I'd like to be included in the raffle. And everybody that does so on today's video, right through till Fridays, the daily brief recaps, will include a nice little raffle for this upcoming Level 1 school term. So, it gives you a nice little PMA give back for the community to try and help you guys out. So, tell a friend. I mean, the raffles are open to anybody. So feel free to join. And as I said, next Monday, the 11th, or basically the 2nd. Actually, this is going to be an interesting options expiry with the third Friday of May being the 15th, So options expiry might come a little bit early this month. But in essence, our upcoming school term starting on the 11th. So, FYI, also too, level 1ers moving on to level 2, get off your butts and get all that registration and stuff up and running so that we hit the ground running next week. And level 2ers moving on to level 3. Still trying to figure out if we have enough numbers to justify a full program right now. My hunch is probably going to be running sort of half program, obviously with COVID and all that kind of stuff. people are kind of cooling their jets. But lucky, Bitcoin and crypto and I suppose the market itself is generally uppy. So if maybe Bitcoin's giving you a bit of a treat, maybe consider joining the level 3 if you can. Long and short of it here, we're in that final week of registration. So if you were planning or thinking about joining the program, now is the time to step up, folks. Okay, let's get on to sort of market talk, and I suppose I'll make a reference in the comments that I won't start market talk until about 20 minutes into the video. So, all right, first and foremost, obviously, actually, where do we want to begin? You know, one thing that I've been noticing recently that I obviously to people like Mr. Buffett and stuff like that, they don't like this kind of talk, but I do believe to a certain degree that crypto is now actually is starting to exert itself as a leading asset. And why do I say that? Usually what happens in frothy bull markets, of course, everything's all uppy, rock and roll, unicorns, crazy ass stories, no revenue, no growth. But a promise down the road of something. A lot of that kind of stuff can get funded. Then you go into crunch time. And those things, those assets that really have no value whatsoever, they get destroyed. And interesting enough, you get bailouts and all that kind of talk. And I think that's sort of where we are with a lot of sort of unicorn kind of ideas. And a lot of companies that really put themselves in the ringer debt-wise, a lot of that stuff's getting washed out in the stock market right now. But I might make an argument, especially considering how close we were to cost of production down there just even back in March, that Bitcoin actually represents value. In a world where how do you actually determine what value is? You can actually figure out what value is for one Bitcoin. It's whatever the hell the cost to keep this darn network going, i.e. what's it going to take for the miners to keep mining Bitcoins? Well, it's probably got to be above whatever the cost is for them to keep mining this stuff. And I've made the ultimate argument that really your ultimate sort of capitulation event, all hell's going to break loose, it's the end of the world for Bitcoin, is if you start hearing 51% attack talk. Haven't really heard too much of that kind of talk, so to me it means that something like a Bitcoin has quite a bit of wiggle room here. We could go back and forth. But I think the thing that really jumped out at me here was when the Fed came in and basically said, look, you get all the free money you want. When the U.S. government came in and said, fine, here's $2 trillion stimulus package, whatever the hell the size was, at the end of the day, $100 billion for you, $100 billion for you. In fact, actually, Shane and Andrew and I were chatting last night. What's the number that comes after trillion? We better figure out what it is, because my hunch is we're going to be talking that number pretty damn soon. So anyway, point of the matter here is printing presses have been turned on in earnest. And of course, all the memes and stuff just going crazy. Hats off to guys like Da Vinci, who basically stepped in and said, sell my house. I don't know whether he got any buyers for his house, but, Elon Musk wants to sell his house. I mean, everybody's getting out of everything. Buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. So, congrats to Dav. I hope he did sell his house and basically doubled his money. I don't know if he did or not, but anyway. And there were others, I think, in this capitulation window, kind of like what I showed you with Kevin. God damn, I'm so proud of those people. I mean, the irony of it all is that that was totally cliche. That was a Leprechaun. In fact, I think we even have the image of it in our setups. Trading range setups. I don't know whether I have it. I know I have the Shark. So the Shark is off of 78.6. And this was an old shit coin from way back when. We used to call that the Shark, a W, and then the 78.6. But as Kevin told you, buying off the 88.6 can even be even slicker. And we had a gentleman out of Ireland who pointed this out, but it doesn't look like we have the Leprechaun in here, right? So I should probably add that later on. But anyway, he fell in love with the 88.6. And absolutely incredible how that, I think I have that chart on here somewhere, how that 88.6 played itself out, like Kevin's chart showed you. Oh, it's too messy. Messy. Anyway, that was 88.6 off of this range. That tag down there. Now, the interesting thing about this is what has me quite puzzled. Because, like I said, on maybe I'm going to have to ad-lib this. I'll do a new chart here. On Friday, and I always like to have a fresh perspective. It always it perks my interest. But on Friday, Mr. Jack Sparrow, I think his name is. I don't know that that's his real name or not, but I'll take a word for it that it is. Oh, we did this. Maybe, I don't know whether we can do QQQs or not. Maybe. But he showed us the fractal of the NASDAQ from the 2000 peak. Let's see where we are here. Yeah, here we are. And then he said side by side, he was seeing a lot of similarities between the NASDAQ fractal and good old Bitcoin. Which, I was pretty darn impressed with this analysis. Yeah, if we go something along those lines. And a few things jumped out at me about this, right? Unfortunately, QQQs don't go that far back. We need to find a better one. Geez, maybe, I don't even know. NASDAQ 100. How do you do that as an index on here? There we are. NASDAQ 100. Let's see what we got here. So go back a bit further. Hey, there we go. All right, so I don't know whether you guys can see the similarities here, but quite shocking. So, in essence, just to show you a sort of Gartley, it's boobity boo to boo to boo to, oh, come on, you. And, oh, you just fight me, and Marlin. Anyway, something along those lines, right? Maybe something like that. So if we go copy, and then dump that on here, and go paste. Where'd it go? Well, that didn't work. Maybe, nope. All right, well, I guess I'll do a new one. Where was that? Over here, right? So, boo-ba-da-boo, da-boo, 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 something like that, right? I thought this was really interesting. The only problem with this is that the rally on the NASDAQ stalled at about 35% or so, right? You can see something up in there. 32.5. I haven't done the number exactly correct here. So I don't know, honestly, if we can make a realistic comparison. Because one thing that really bothered me about the Bitcoin rally here was the market went all the way up, almost basically right up to Mountain Man level there, right? Which surprised me. I remember when we were talking through this rally, we were like, well, it should stop at 38.2, kind of like what happened here, right? That's basically our 38.2 stop. This thing went zipping all the way up to Mountain Man level here, which kind of surprised me. So it's tough for me to say that these are the same fractals. I don't think they are, but there's a heck of a lot of similarity. And it's interesting too. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, right? But I do remember, and I've even seen people on social media and stuff say, well, Brian, I remember when you just, back here, you were drawing this Gartley out for a while here. I'm not in the business of predicting. You all know that. I'm just sort of like, okay, I wonder what, does price line up with this? Does price line up this? And then if you happen to have a harmonic and price does come in here, and on that event a big divergence comes in, and then you have market structure, well, you got yourself a trade location, you got divergence, you got structure. It sounds to me like you got a setup. Kind of like what Kevin said there earlier. if we have this rally and it's a divergence and then a big M comes in here, my trading plan says I got to take those. I don't really have a choice, and it's not really opinion. It's my trading plan says if this, and this happens, I got to do that. No choice. That's just your trading plan. So, getting into the business of saying this will happen, that's a mug's game. But I have to say, man, like I said, when I saw that video of Kevin's and he basically just said, well, look, this was a Leprechaun. It's in my plan. I had to take it. I mean, hats off to you, dudes. That's solid. I mean, that's the sign of a pro. Now, I don't think it's in our best interest to say that this is going to happen. Who knows? It might not. Put yourself into a position that if it does happen, great, wonderful. I do like the idea that, especially when we were down in sort of like $5,000-$6,000 area, because we knew that, and I have one of these charts on a while ago that I did from years ago. I think it was this one, where back in this last cycle, we had a site member who did pretty extensive research to try and figure out what the cost of production was, actually just about a year ago. And he came up with about 2,600 here. I don't know whether these numbers are going to jibe with you. This is old technology, right? Blah, 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 blah. But the point of the matter is there was a lot of talk around here that maybe the cost of production is around $2,000-$3,000. And sure enough, that's where the bottom came in. So, if we believe having an event, of course, that means that this number has to double, assuming these same metrics. But I'm already starting to see a lot of companies talking about S19s being implemented. So already industry is moving over to the next generation hardware. But long and short of it here, after having an event, if these numbers are somewhat the same, that'll be about 5,000 or 6,000. So absolutely love the idea that if you could just force yourself to put yourself on like a dollar cost averaging plan and just slowly accumulate right down in sort of really sexy near value. The shitty part about this is, of course, for the people who are watching this price action in earnest, we really haven't had any W's to work with, and it's just been doink straight line up. So that does concern me a little bit. And one thing I don't like, and I've sort of suggested this on social media a while recently, is that I've noticed that most of the time when Bitcoin does bottom, especially if we look over the past few years, it usually does it on some sort of price momentum divergence. So I'm a little concerned that we just V-bottom straight up here and no divergence. And I've been just sort of conjecturing, where is the magic divergence? So I don't know whether I'm really ready to say, this is the bottom. We go straight up from here. The way I'm sort of looking at it, I had one site, TRI school veteran, became very, very wealthy on this big blow off top here way back when. I think he's like landed gentry now over in Europe. Anyway. Back over in this time period, he actually sent me a cool little chart showing this sort of low to high kind of trend line thinking, actually low to high, and then low to low, sort of creating this expanding megaphone kind of price pattern wedge. I actually still like this thinking. And ironically enough, which I find hilarious, is we painted crazy chaos levels up here a few months ago. And people on social media actually were very critical of me for doing that. Oh, what? Beamish is calling 11,000 now? I mean, who fucking knows what's going to happen? I just happened to throw it on there. Here it goes. So call me crazy, but there it is. Thought it was interesting, too. I put out a tweet showing that it almost looked like this was some sort of bull flag, but a really weird looking bull flag. I'm sure there's a better definition for this price action. But the old adage is usually consolidations in triangles resolve about 2/3 the apex. So, getting into, if we just measure this out, we'll go off the low here. So the whole triangle, and I don't know whether I've drawn this correctly or not. I'm just eyeballing it. About 56 bars. So what would 2/3 of that be? Maybe about 30 or so, something like that. I don't know, somewhere in there. Just eyeballing, right? Just roughly. It shouldn't surprise us that we were starting to get some resolution here. And the question really through this was, okay, do we M out and crap out, and that's the end of the bull, or do we W and bottom and continue higher? And the bulls won, right? They just won. Simple as that. And it was interesting, too. I wanted to mention this to you for the YouTube audience, because I've been talking a little bit about this with you recently, and of course site members. I'm almost at the point where I think I can actually start building a module to sort of teach this on the site. I needed lots and lots and lots of data to just sort of validate the thinking, but I think, people on YouTube and stuff, we've been talking about how you can use sort of what W is coming in reference to how many W's have come in, and M's on the same thing on the down move, and sort of give you an idea of where we are relative to sort of the trend. The teal I mark as ones is sort of like the M or W that breaks the previous bull or bear move. The 2 is usually the W following this W before any sort of new M's come in. You might argue that a little M came in there, but that's awfully small. Came back down, broke out up here. Then you might argue that the next W that comes in off of that is sort of like an exhaustion of the trend. And if you do start getting M's that come in and break the exhaustion moves, then that sort of is saying we're not really a bear, higher highs and higher lows. It's just a cute little fast M, and it's breaking the most recent, and usually it's a third move that you see these things come in. Like I suppose on a lower time frame you could have done a really fast one off of there. But here's a simple illustration. If you have to like sort of zoom in, pause, take a screenshot of this, by all means go for it. But I think this M sort of stopped that bull move, right? That 1M, that teal. And sure enough, that came in here, and the bull had to stop, and we had to go sideways a bit. And then, if you happen to see a second M, and I had this on here last chart I showed you guys, but, if we, the second M, which would be yellow now, if this had come in, and it also, too, was off a 50 line, which is pretty dangerous. If this had come in here, oh boy, remember when we said, oh boy, big M, watch out. If we fail through here, all hell's going to break loose. And it just never happened, right? And what's really cool about this is you can see the fight. And then the market broke out through there, creating a new 2 up and busting the old 1 down. Boom. So now we're back to sort of this scenario here. Woohoo, away we go. So we're in 2. Then notice, here comes another W, but the damn thing's going parabolic. So that's definitely like an exhaustion sort of move. And then also, too, RSI actually got up as high as 74. And conservative RSI studies would use 70-30 as overbought, oversold. If I was using this to trade, I would personally prefer using like a 7 RSI. And 80-20s for overbought and oversold. But, long and short of it here, conservative, out of the box, 70-30 overbought, oversold. So starting to flash signs of being overbought. That's got to be a little bit concerning anyway. But, sometimes the market can stay overbought, and that's actually a sign of a really strong bull. So right now we're sitting here going, okay, well, we're definitely not stopping the bear. And okay, well, are we a bull? No. Okay, well, now we're like bull. Okay, bull, we're bull. And now we're, oh my God, we're face rip. Noobs, trap, number 3s, purples. Noobs coming in here, buying this face rip move up here. And uh-oh, here comes a new little 1, potential MEM. And if it breaks 3, right, we know these are the noobs, the chasers. If this confirms, right, this RSI here sitting 70.75, sitting right now 70.4447 now. So we know that if this confirms this M, then it's saying bull's got to go on pause. Simple as that. So And does this make sense? Well, I mean, you look at trade location. I mean, it's funny how we got a funny little chaos level. Bang! Just smacked right into it and stopped. But if we go maybe over to Collins chart, and we were talking about Collins chart here a bit. Yeah, this one. I think you can make the argument that we're up into areas where if this really is a bear, that the bears are going to try and defend their trade. You can see the original M top, market structure failure, right? I mean, really, you could just simply draw a horizontal line off of that level. And so any institutional player looking at this chart and saying, down here going, well, I want to be short Bitcoins, but I'm certainly not allowed to sell down here, especially in like reload zones. Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my job if I do that. So if I really want to sell Bitcoins, where do I want to sell? Well, there's that crazy reload zone concept. Well, even for fun, let's throw on a good old Leprechaun level. So, Leprechaun did not get filled here. That's good. So, Leprechaun is left out. But I think what happened here was the market got up into the original structural fail level. And somebody just came along and hit it. And notice that's above value. Colleen, I think Colleen's here today. So, hopefully she sees that, oh yeah, well, we know if the market can accept back into value, then 80% of the time it's going to go tag value high. Gets up above value, and this. Hey, Colleen, nice to see you, sweetie. This guy's gonna come out here, bang, in your face, right? I'm above value. I'm shorting. I mean, it is what it is. 78.6, and I think what happened here was probably this was a nice little liquidity pool right there. There's a whole bunch of stop loss orders sitting there. Guys like buy. Soon as we get up into this area, right, these people are short, so that means that they have a buy on stop order working here. So they buy, and I'm going to put my sell on stop order working here. And on the trip up of these stop loss orders, I get filled on my sell orders. Happens all the time. On the site, we like to call it the SFU setup. I'll tell you what the S stands for. It stands for Sebastian. I'll leave the FU portion of that to your imagination. But in essence, this is a pit trader's bread and butter. This is what pit traders do day in, day out. So it really shouldn't surprise anybody that we got up into that nosebleed zone. And you actually see a bit of pullback here. I don't think that should surprise anybody. What was really interesting about Collins' buddies and this mountain man level here, and this is a really good analogy. In fact, Kevin even made reference to this earlier, that there were some people who were thinking, okay, I'm totally thinking short mountain man. I'm thinking Collins' buddies are going to stop the train. Here is a really, really good analogy of why I really like that 3-step process for finding trades. If you were just like, and this also too was a 3 drives pattern level, so there was a lot of harmonic reasons to look for failure in this area, but notice what price did. And the fact that price ran up and it couldn't get to Mountain Man, and then backed off, and then ka-pow! So this is why it's so critical that when we get to levels, remember, location, always your first reason to consider taking a trade. At this point, then you hit location, you got to look down at your indicators and go, okay, are they in divergence? And what is price doing? Should I really just go and blindly hit the level? And clearly, in this case, if you had just had an open order working, I'm going to call a top in these levels, you got your ass kicked. So, if anything, great analogy that you got to wait for the setup and know what, just having one reason to consider taking a trade is often extremely dangerous. And I would suggest to you, write it down. It's a core tenet of our education program, 3 unrelated reasons. And when we mean unrelated, location, you're going to have a whole bunch of tools that are saying, hey, this is a really good trade location. Then you want to go down and look at your indicators to suggest that if we're rallying up into a shorting location, your indicators are suggesting price is much weaker than price would lead you to believe. What do we call that? Anybody know? Oh, Jesus Christ, he's going to quiz us again. Anybody? Right? Yeah, all right, fine. I won't get into the hard-ass stuff. Thank you, Colleen. So you got to look at your indicators, and you got to ask, is there signs of divergence? We look at our indicator here as we're blasting off into this trade location. I see momentum is pretty strong. We had this divergence over here, but that basically played out, and then a W came in on our momentum, raw momentum indicators. Remember that RSI I was telling you about? W's through 50 lines. Those are pretty powerful bullish signals. So we're getting like bullish signals as we're ramping up into this level here on our momentum indicators. Volume, moving up here. No signs of failure. And actually, this was interesting because I actually did it up here. Let's see where we are here. Wasn't that chart? It was. And I tried to keep everything pretty simple here for you guys, because I noticed that jumping around on a bunch of charts really, it's not good for you guys. Where the hell is it? And I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do. Oh, wonderful. I could have sworn I had it. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I do have it here. Silly bug. There we go. So last week, before I went, I guess 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, whatever, I was going to go on vacation, and I noticed that as we were sort of bumping along here, I was getting really worried about the market falling apart. Remember that? We were talking about, excuse me, price here. I guess we can use this. Price emming out, and then remember the RSI study failing. Trouble brewing. And you can see that we resolved bullishly back there on the 23rd of April. But let's go take a look at the volume. So what I was worried about here was there was that bullish move on the 23rd. And then notice that there was very little buying follow through on the other side of this. And I put out a tweet basically saying, one of the signs that we're getting near the end of a bull move is the buyers just stop buying. It's really that simple. And this is one of our level 1 core concepts, the idea of analyzing money flow and volume patterns. And you can clearly see that as we, of course, we're moving up. This is this is the March lows over here. As you can see, the participation was drying up. So much so that on the 25th, I actually got a signal saying, where the hell are the damn bulls? They have not. And in fact, when I get this kind of emming action here, and then I get a bar that's lower than this, this clearly says to me that the bulls have fallen asleep. Bad sign. Now, it can be problematic if we already are trending lower, but notice that they fell asleep with the market relatively happy here. But at this point, it's entirely incumbent on the bears to step up and take over. And if they just don't show up, then our price just drifts. And that's exactly what happened here. So the bulls fell asleep, very low volume, and then things just drifted. If the bears wanted to take over, they had the green light. They just simply needed to do a volume bar bigger than all of these here. If we had seen that, all hell would have broken loose. But you see on the 28th, that was their big event day. They had permission to take the market down, and they just did not show up. And actually, it's interesting. If you look at the 28th, right, that's basically that day right there. So you can see the price action. Market had moved up. In essence, the bulls had exhausted themselves, And the bears, if they had decided this was it, they had the green light. And you can see that they just didn't show up. Markets started to probe up through those highs, and then all hell broke loose on the buy side. That's what this bar is. And boom, 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 smashed all of these previous highs. Fantastic sign for the bulls. In essence, the bulls woke up and said, hey, we're still here, we're rocking and rolling. So I do believe, and then of course, ultimately what we want to do is we want to look at this impetus fight, and we want to say, okay, well, how is it being expressed in our momentum is oscillator? I don't know if that's the best word. Volume momentum indicator. And as you can see from the indicator itself, we are making higher highs. We are well above the moving average. Things are rocking and rolling. Big bull. But then price stalled. And what's really interesting about this is basically the bears, there's probably a lot of bulls that participated in here. But the bears, keep in mind, I think this was a big shooting star, wasn't it? Yeah. So the market ramped up here, and remember we said that that was an important original market structure failure level right in there. Lots and lots of volume, but then price started to melt back down, i.e. the market ran into a bunch of sellers. And in essence, that's what this represents. Now the bear is saying, whoa, 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 hey, I'm still here, don't discount me. And notice the OBV indicator has now gone into basically a trading range. So you can make the argument from the indicator itself, boobity-boo, especially these two lows here, boobity-boo, boobity-boo. This is in essence that trading range right in here. Now, the good part about this is the bulls have said, hey, we're still around, we're kicking ass. The bears have said, yeah, but we're still here too. The question ultimately now, and you kind of see big volume event bars, is who's going to fall asleep first. And of course, if we see volume ramp up, either the bears through this high or the bulls through this high, then we know that they are completely still in control, whoever camp it is. The problem here with the bulls is you notice this bar high, one, then down, then up, then the third one, and now that's this one, so second, third. That means if we do an up day less than 3,327 coins, then the bulls have fallen back asleep. So, long and short of all this, it was really interesting battle here. The bulls did fall asleep. The bears did have permission to wake up and take over, and they just didn't show up. Bulls still controlling the story and the show, but the bears have said, we're still here. Don't discount us. And now we have to sit here and just say, okay, well, who's going to take control? We're still sort of they're wrestling right now. With the bulls, they have the upper hand. I thought that was interesting analysis. Sure hope somebody got some value out of that. If we look at some of our other momentum indicators, there's Colin Buddy's levels that we talked about. Hogue, of course, is probably interested in shorting up top here. Original market structure failure level. This was a 4669, the number of the beast up here. So it does, to me, make sense. 78.6, liquidity pool, original market structure. It does actually make sense to me that we pause. And really, frankly speaking, you can see we've got M's now in OBV. MACD, actually, momentum has not broken to new highs here, which is a little bit dangerous, right? We would have preferred to see MACD bust up through the high here. That hasn't happened. Willie, our overbought, oversold indicator is officially telling us the market is now overbought. The sad part about this, hopefully it makes perfect sense, is when I was a stockbroker, guess when my phone would be ringing from the retail public to actually buy Bitcoins? It would be right now. And I would have to politely tell them, look, if you wanted to buy, you missed the boat. It's too dangerous. Does that mean that price is going to go straight down? Absolutely not. One thing you're going to learn about price momentum oscillators is that they can sit in overbought, oversold, what we call embedded for long periods of time. It's not a signal unto itself, but what it is a signal for me is that if I did want to be a buyer, I'm too late. And really, I got to wait for Willie to get stupid on the sell side again before I can realistically think that, okay, we've actually got a relatively low risk entry window right now. Interesting too, if we look at things like relative strength index, I talked to you earlier about that first M that possibly comes in. What do we say the first M's color should be? Let's see if anybody's actually listening to me here. Mr. Beamish. Welcome back, sir, champ. Hey, it's Sunny. Sunny. Thank you for the joy you give to me. Hey, Sonny. What was the question I asked? I don't know. Anybody remember? Purple! No, that's 3. You may be in Hoag's good books, but not mine now. Rocker. I love that. Now we, like I was saying on the site earlier, now we got a Hoag meme. Somebody's got to record that. Hi, Nick. Bagdasarov. Ooh, cool name. Is that Russian? Hello. X, please. No. All right. BMX. Please, no. All right. Anyway. I think I showed you this, right? The first one I do in teal. Remember that? Does anybody remember me talking about this earlier? The second one I do in yellow. And then the third, which is the noobs, I do in purple. So, interesting how we have the noobs coming in here. And of course, like I said just a moment ago, oh, Willie's nice and stupid. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Do you see how all this shit works together? So, third blow off top, exhaustion move, RSI is going into overbought, right? And we look at our overbought, oversold indicator, and gee whiz, it's flashing overbought. What a surprise. So, lots of warning signs here, folks. Not going to sugarcoat this. There is lots and lots of warning signs. I would be actually pretty disappointed if I heard people were coming in hard on the buy side here. That's just asking for trouble here, folks. And actually, one study I wanted to show you guys, which I thought was so cool, but obviously it's not going to play out this way this time. Where the hell is it? I don't think we need to talk about stock market. Actually, another sort of reason why I think that market could very easily top out here. I'm not necessarily saying that this is the top. In fact, actually, I'm not saying that, right? But what I am thinking here is this is the CME futures contract, the June contract. And notice, remember we talked with liquidity pool? There's a big old nasty gap on the Bitcoin futures. I think actually it's in your best interest if you're going to follow the CME's futures to actually pull up the actual futures contract itself and analyze this, because clearly this gap was some super ridiculous unfinished business, and what a surprise they just took the market in, filled in the gap, and then dumped it right on the other side. Now, what this sort of tells me is, if you think market symmetry, sort of this is the left-hand side, this is the right-hand side, obviously not very symmetrical, but hopefully you can see the similarities. Then we have sort of like this little curl lip right in here. I'm thinking that that's what this is, the curl lip. And then what I did was I took that price action. I mean, this might be wishful thinking, who knows? But I, in essence, just took that price action and I just overlaid it and just thought, well, if we're going to do something similar, how did I do that? Something like that. Well, it's roughly. Not quite sure exactly how I did that. Well, actually, you know what? I can just go, boop, there we go. All right. I wouldn't be shocked if there was one more rally up top here just to satisfy all this unaddressed business up top here. I mean, the question ultimately is how are we going to resolve out of this range? If we go and M out here, well, then maybe we are done. But if we're just consolidating, and we have one more push up here, and keep in mind the halvening is still, probably a week or two away, I could easily see this kind of scenario because this will create that divergence that I've been looking for to ultimately mark the top, right? So if we look at the momentum indicators, I don't see that divergence that usually we get. Probably have to see an old one. We definitely are overbought. And interesting how RSI went zipping straight up above the Bollinger Band, but came right back down to the midpoint. Interesting how that's not really an M up there. Notice all these M's, right? But this was straight up, straight down. So I don't know. If we get any kind of bullish push through here, I could easily see this. And I mean, OBV, that doesn't look bearish. So, if anything, you know what? This is a classic range trader's trade. The top is probably somewhere up in here, but you know how traders work. I mean, are they going to make it nice and polite? Are they going to actually announce, okay, everybody, this is the top. If you want to get short, now is exactly the time to do it. I mean, never, right? So my hunch is this top's going to be messy and sloppy, but I don't have enough here. I mean, yes, overbought. But I don't have that massive divergence. Now, maybe if we crap out here and just dump right hard, like I said, that M's out, maybe this fires that div and this honking big M comes in. Okay. But for the time being, I'm not saying, you know what, we're pointed down. I actually think in the short term, we're just trapped in a trading range for the time being. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we sort of talked about levels. What time is it? And are you guys getting any value out of this? I know there's about 100 people watching this. If you're enjoying this, please hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, what's it? How does it go? Ring Colleen's bell. Hey, nice to see Daniel again. Jeez, Daniel's so sick. What a great trader. Rocker! Value plus. Oh, awesome. Rocker, did you see Shark Toshi's presentation? Man, that was so good, eh? Oh, that's good. Well, a few of you are enjoying this. That's cool. What do you think, guys? Did you miss me? Did you sit over the past week and go, man, I sure missed that Beamish guy. I'd love to know what the hell he's thinking here. I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Okay, so anything, one name before I let you guys go. Oh, actually, why don't we take a quick boo at some of the sisters. Another reason why I sort of think that we're not quite done here yet for sort of bull kind of thinking is look how very uppy the moving averages are here. You can see on the daily basis, they're all pointing up. They're all still very bullish. So that's not really the sign of a bear. If anything, what that means is if we do get slam dumps here, those slam dumps are going to be dumping price into support. And then if we dump into those support lines and then we rally off of them and then fail, then I think we have trouble. But I don't see that just yet. If anything, all I see is, each of these, in their own way, has got its own trading range. So, ironically enough, and it's not really a doji, it's not really a shooting star, kind of like, we'll call it a thick, bearish, but sort of shooting star here. If anything, this has established a trading range. So top of the trading range on the corn is about 9,500. That makes sense. Bottom end of the trading range about 8,300. So about $1,000 trading range. And you can notice that the 13 EMA, which is what I really like to use to sort of keep me honest, keep me, fast support. You can see fast support, sort of, it zips around, but it ends up getting sucked right back to it a lot. So you can see 13 EMA, it's going to be screaming higher here, and my hunch is it's probably going to line up with the low of that candle really well. ETH, same sort of thing. Top of the range there appears to be 226.83. Interesting how we smacked right into a chaos level, 217, and had to sort of take a bit of a pause there. Bottom of that down candle appears to be 201.92, call it 202. And there's 13 AMA screaming his way up here. So that definitely looks like an area of support. And good old Charlie, I still think he's Satoshi. Same sort of thing. Top of the candle, bottom of the candle, so is probably your trading range. So top here is 50.92. Bottom there is 45.68. So about a $7 trading range. So, you look at the moving averages here, and there's not a hell of a lot bearish. The only sort of bearish note here is Litecoin's still below its 200 period moving average. But, I mean, that's not a sell signal unto itself. If we look at momentum on all three of these off the cash markets, remember we said bulls, rah, I'm a bull, look at me, fuck you. Whoops, I shouldn't have said that on YouTube. Why did I just say that? Tisk tisk. I'm a bull, rah, rah, rah. Then the bears are like, yeah, but I'm still here. So, in essence, we've got our volume battle window, and you can see if this M's out and loses the moving average. Well, obviously the bears won. Same thing on, now this is interesting, something that's a little disturbing. Notice the volume on Ethereum really didn't get going that much. So, and the fact that it smacked into Mountain Man and our chaos levels, this looks tacky. And then, of course, if we look at our RSI, oh boy, he's got that same potential M as good old corn. All right, if anything, ETH's M on RSI looks even a little more dangerous because look at this. Geez, if you draw a trend line, if ETH craps out here, like I said, it's not really in anybody's interest to get into the crystal ball game. But I'll tell you, with this M, that's like a Davo, right? If we get an M on OBV and an M in RSI at the same time, you just take the first market structure signal and you get short. And then also, too, look at momentum on MACD. Oh, boy, Ethereum looks kind of dangerous here. Haven't broken yet. There isn't any M's yet, but oh, boy, it's flirting with disaster here. And then Charlie, same sort of thing. At least Charlie saw a bit of up volume, which was encouraging. Suppose Ethereum did. What's this volume? 195, and that's 195.7. Oh, geez. 195.4, and then 195.7. It's just like, okay, we'll do 300 coins just to make damn sure Beamish doesn't start talking about volume impetus. This looks a little bit dangerous in here, guys. Just be aware of that. Litecoin, it also has this little bit of a momentum divergence. I guess all of these have them in here, eh? So if we do crap out here, we're going to be getting Davos. You can see all the M's here in OBVs and RSIs. We already said that Willie was stupid on things like Bitcoin. So the writing's on the walls, right? We're probably closer to a top than a bottom, and then... I actually really did like this thinking that the previous halvening, for some reason, I'm not quite sure why, there never really has been a reason given, but I noticed on Litecoin, same thing, that the market topped out about 20 to 25 days ahead of the halvening event. Then we get a big sort of dump. Then the market sort of consolidates sideways, and then we get the resolution AB equals CD kind of thinking. So, clearly the market is not on this schedule, right? But what I found fascinating was I just took this morning. I said, okay, well, maybe it's operating off of something like that, which is just the next low. And lo and behold, holy Jesus, that's pretty good. So I don't know if this is the top. The last pre-halvening rally, it jumped up on divergence. RSI started to M out. It painted inside bars, and then all hell broke loose. So we jumped up. We have RSI M's coming in. We don't necessarily have any inside bars or anything like that forming just yet. So I get the feeling we're either somewhere like here, and there's one more push up top here, or we are actually at the top. But like I said, it's a mugs game. Don't get into the business of predicting. It's not. You're just going to end in heartache, trust me. 30 years of this game, I've seen that too often. I do like this kind of price action going forward. The only question that I have here about all of this is the Fed has gone on an absolute printing spree, right? We all know that. They have basically, just even in the past, I would say 2 or 3 weeks, they have literally cut the purchasing power of the US dollar by a third, something along those lines. So in that kind of environment, do we actually see precipitous collapses in Bitcoin? I do believe that these celestial events, and I have them sort of painted on the chart, this was the first celestial event that I think the whole market sort of had to get priced into. I do believe Bitcoin actually bottoms about a week or two, I guess maybe even like 3 weeks ahead of that event. And I'm actually thinking something along those lines as well here for this next one. It's coming up in June. And interestingly enough, too, I do remember last time talking with sort of the free audience, and I was musing, well, if we do top out here, and this is an AB equals CD, holy fuck, it takes us all the way down to $1,000. Oh, my God. I really didn't want that to happen. Now I notice, and I find this fascinating, that if we continue that AB equals CD thinking, notice that now we're down into sort of descending wedge support levels that actually I kind of like. So who knows, if anything, all the Bitcoin bulls are like, no way, man, one more rally. We want to get up into these levels. And if that happens, then fucking A, I don't think we take out these lows ever again. As it stands right now, I'm thinking that, if the selling gets going in earnest, if another wave of this sickness starts to overtake, if, panic in the streets, blah, 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 blah. If we do roll over, and I actually do really like this sort of pre-halvening event kind of price action, the way that it happened in the past, then I'm seriously going to be thinking anywhere down in this window becomes an absolutely fantastic buying window. Probably like a buying window for like the next like 20, 30 years kind of thing. Going to be very difficult. My hunch is it's probably going to be this kind of price action. Very, very difficult. I do like, of course, I've said this repeatedly, maybe don't do it, don't get into the business of trying to outsmart the smarties. I absolutely love Kevin's kind of thinking, 88.6s. Just have your bids working. It's my plan. It is what I do. If you pull off this kind of trade and the damn thing doubles, for God's sakes, take some profits. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible trading. Way to go, you guys. But for heaven's sakes, don't let this huge winner turn into a loser if we happen to roll back over here. But the way that I'm sort of thinking about it, and just FYI, now, a big problem with me is I'm terrible at remembering long digits of numbers and letters thrown sporadically in. So I also have a fairly large registered account in Canada. So I sort of sitting here, I love the fact that we actually now have a investable Bitcoin fund that is basically on an exchange, regulated exchange. And if you actually read all the sort of people that are involved, it's basically the 1% who are running this thing. And the public really isn't that interested. Goddamn Ubik, man. That thing's gonna fucking take off here. There's your freebie for the day. Do with it as you please. Not telling you what to do, but just look at the fucking chart, man. Jesus Christ. But anyway, QBTC, I think it's .u. So long and short of it here now, and you can sort of see this chart developing. I've already put myself on a plan to buy, and actually I'm feeling pretty good right now. I have no interest whatsoever in selling this asset at all. And frankly speaking, I think I'll probably hold on to this until the next cycle. And I just want to keep adding. And then, of course, we talk about Fed printing press and all that kind of shit. Before the Fed went on its absolutely nutso printing spree, I sat here and I go, okay, look, it makes rational sense that the cost of production, $2,000-$3,000, going to go to $5,000, whatever. But what the hell is what is a $5,000? What is a $3,000? I mean, technically speaking, the Fed has basically told you your old $5,000 bill is not really $5,000. It's now about $3,000, whether you like it or not. That's what just happened. So in that kind of environment, and trust me, with the June-July pivot and then the November pivot, which is the really dangerous one, my hunch is that Fed balance sheet is not, I don't know, anybody have the Fed balance sheet just off the top of their head? I know Seward shows it to us every Monday. But I think it's at like $6.5 trillion now. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes to 10, 20 trillion by the end of this. So what that really means is that just for Bitcoin to stay the same, it has to go up because, of course, the supply is limited. So put it all together, as Mr. Exotic One just said, I think over basically the next 6 to 12 months, let's say, we are use pullbacks and weakness as buying opportunities for the corn. Really that simple. If we get big dumps that come in because of some sort of trading nonsense, and, getting back to that conversation that I wanted to have to you guys about the NASDAQ, did I save that chart or did I get rid of it? Oh, that's too bad. I thought I was looking at it here somewhere. Darn. Oh, well. That fractal. Where the hell did I put that? Oh, well. I don't know what this is going to look like. Nobody does. Nobody can predict the future. But I did find it fascinating that if we look at that similar sort of fractal pattern kind of behavior, this thing is actually supposed to just grind its way higher here. Still think, the question ultimately at the other end is not a financial advice. Yeah, of course. I mean, remember Exotic One? What are we supposed to call this video offering here today? Do you guys remember? And it's not financial advice. It's just Brian talking out his ass. Which, of course, doesn't sell subscriptions. I should really try and clean up my potty language on these things, but oh well. Where are we here? So I like the idea of the market being relatively well bid, but at the same time too, I do understand that there is a halvening event, and usually the market has a big rally ahead of the halvening event. Then it calms down and it sort of goes sideways. So, one of the sort of warnings that the top is coming in. Did anybody check out what the cost to do a Bitcoin transaction is? And what the backlog is, because every single time we go through one of these blow off tops, exactly the same things happen. But I don't know how to show you. I don't know if anybody has that website with that data, but I'm noticing transaction costs are starting to escalate. I put a tweet out to that effect earlier today, And I'm hearing that the backlog of transactions is starting to get really ridiculous. So the problem there, of course, is that those aren't like trading signals. They are just writing on the wall. There are problems developing. So more anecdotal sort of evidence that we're probably getting near some sort of end to this move rather than the beginning. All right, so finish off. Oh, here it is. Well, why the hell did this? All right, so, looking at this chart here and then looking at that NASDAQ, I mean, do we have to do something like this? If we're just going to continue to climb the wall of worry, there will still be consolidations along the climb that will actually sort of articulate, okay, we could take a new trade. So, for instance, climbing the wall of worry, there's no corrections, Brian, I can't get in. Who could tell, let's see if anybody on YouTube knows this. If I was going to trade a trade setup to trade trend continuation, what setup would I use? Anybody know? It's a setup that I developed on my own. Oh, thank you, ma'am. But it's a sort of amalgamation of a whole bunch of different setups. It's the bot. So you could make an argument that, we could go, say, here to here, and go here to here. What do I want to do here? There, boom. And there to there. And you just sort of trade, stair-step your way higher here as the market works its way higher. So these will be the kind of setups that I'm going to be hunting to try and trade the market as we work our way higher. I mean, ideally, right, we want to get nice W's coming in here. I don't know about this. If anything, what I'd love to see is a nice, especially candle body lows. I'd love to see a nice pullback, test those candle body lows, and then a nice turn just exactly like this, and then I'll be like, oh my God. So then I'll join Da Vinci. And I'll be like, fuck, you just have to buy. You have to buy. And just, unfortunately, Brian's chicken shit by nature. So I'm never going to be like, oh my God, mortgage the house, or sell your house, whatever, you got to buy. But I'll tell you, if we can get a nice dip against these, actually, you know what? You can actually see it's very similar there, eh? And what I thought was really cool, the gentleman who pointed this out to the TRI community was a friend of Colin's, and he made the comment, and I thought it was perfect, is that this is the NASDAQ. This is all about tech, right? This is all about, the future, right? Internet, all that kind of stuff. What caused this dump? And the answer is Lehman Brothers, AIG. Oh, what happened? Oh, finally you are back. All right, well, is that Z-O-I-A? How do you pronounce that? Zoia? Hello, Zoia. What caused this dump? The answer was AIG, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns. Do any of them have anything to do? What happens if who's listening? Who was I talking about? The Hogue? I'd love it if Hogue would listen to this, but I doubt he would listen to this. Or Brandon. How about Brandon? That I would be pretty damn impressed if Mountain Man actually gave a shit about what I had to say. Anyway, point of the matter here is this was financial assets. This is everything about the over leveraged housing market. Nothing to do with technology whatsoever. What's going on here? What caused the Bitcoin dump here? Did it have anything to do with Bitcoin itself? And I might answer no. It had nothing to do with Bitcoin. That's actually the sign that, hey, you really should be paying attention. Oh, Dav. Well, Dav is Dav. He's a fun guy. What I always love about Dav is he's got a good spirit. I think he's got a good heart. He tries really hard. So if he's listening, I hope he is. I hope he gets some good information. So, I don't know what this bottom's going to look like. I do like the idea that Bitcoin, with a fixed supply, it actually has permission now to do all the wonderful things that people talked about, $100,000. And actually, I gave my price projection on Bitcoin to the boys last night. And it is substantially higher than $100,000. So, the irony of it all is, 5-10 years from now, we'll look back and say, well, Bitcoin's $150,000, whatever, and a loaf of bread's $50. Well, welcome to the future. Okay, well, hopefully I've given you my 2 cents here. Hopefully you got some value out of this. I hope you do appreciate that. It's one thing to be able to talk technical tools. I mean, hell, it's one thing. Hopefully, everybody here now knows what a weekly W looks like. Those kind of things should be fairly easy to learn. Concepts like divergence, trade location tools, right? That is one part of the equation. But actually, the bigger part where most people fail at this game is they don't realize actually how much work this is. I mean, it is. If you want to be a quote-unquote trader, it is more than a full-time job. Because, it's fun to watch Julian. 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I got a gold position open. Can't go to bed yet, so just got to sit and babysit it. Well, I mean, if you're trading off of 10-minute charts, well, so be it. That's the life that you choose. If you are watching these and you're just like, gee whiz, man, that's a hell of a lot of information. I sure would like to be able to sort of distill that into a nice plan, a nice or well-articulated, how do I approach this? How do I get myself from, hey, I've got $5,000 I was inherited from Uncle or Aunt Betsy. Uncle Betsy, who knows, if you live in San Francisco, maybe. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't know why I said that. Sorry. Those are the kind of things that always get me in trouble. Anyway, the whole reason why I came to the public, the whole reason why I do these videos was because I've got in my crazy head that it's more important to me to try and help you people and try and make a positive difference in the world than monetary gain. I know it sounds weird, and the weird part about it is that because I take this approach, I don't worry about money. I've got more money than I know what to do with. So money is not really the motivator. The motivator here is can I help you guys? Can I make a difference? Like watching Kevin's video there. He got it. He learned it. He's kicking ass. It's just beautiful to watch him. I had another gentleman on the site who I think he's my Transylvanian real estate agent. But he articulated it so well. It's like, before he came to TRI, it's sort of like, okay, I could make guesses in the market just as good as anybody else. But how do I change that from, no, this is a systematic approach where you're not really guessing. You're just sort of just managing your money, taking appropriate action. You're not always going to be right, but at least, when you are wrong, you can articulate clearly when you're wrong and get the hell out, save capital. And I do believe that it's making a substantial difference in this world. I really do believe that. And as long as that's the case, I will just keep on doing this. So, maybe you sign up for this school, maybe you don't. We do have a school seat up for grabs this coming next Sunday's Broiler Chicken Show. So if you are interested, drop a comment in either today's or any one of the daily brief recap videos we'll do Monday to Friday. And next Sunday we'll have a raffle drawing seat. And I'll tell you, this program changes lives. It takes people from being completely lost to, okay, at least I now understand the game. And I can act appropriately, and then all of a sudden the anxiety starts to disappear. Maybe you're not going to be driving Lambos tomorrow. It takes a long time to learn and get good at this. But at least you're not going to blow yourself up. And you're not going to go to bed going, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because the answer is, well, what did your plan say you're going to do? All right, so I've already taken the time, articulated every single thing I want to do and why I'm doing it and where I'm going to do it and how I'm going to do it. And now really all I just let go of that anxiety and just say, look, I'm just following my plan. And like Kevin showed you, son of a bitch, sometimes when you follow your plan and you do what your plan says, you look like a goddamn genius. How much is what? Someone says, how much is it? You know, the funny thing is it's a 12-week program, and you get one-on-one instruction with, well, not one-on-one, but you get a group tutorial session with Grim, who has been working with TRI, and I'm always in the chat room just sort of adding my 2 cents while he's working away with the group. And a whole bunch, like 3 or 4 hours of lectures by me every week for like 12 weeks. And it's like, I think we're charging like $997 for it. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're just giving this away. It's absolutely ridiculous. Hey, there's Alex! I can confirm all this is true. TRI changes lives. Oh, awesome, Alex. How's the baby? Hope everything went well with you and your better half. I've been thinking about you guys lots. Nice. Hey, look at that. We get people confirming. Yeah, I mean, the program is an absolute steal. You think about it, over a 12-week period, every single week is a different module, a different topic, different conversation. For $1,000, that's like, what is that? It's like $80-90 a week. I mean, it's ridiculous. But like I said, we're not here to make a fortune off you people. That's not the whole point of this. Hell, fucking Julian made like 75 G's in the past 2 months. He doesn't need to. We don't need to teach. I'm just gonna ride Julian's coattails. So I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have dropped numbers there. But the point of the matter here is, the whole reason why I'm doing this is to try and make a positive difference in this world. And it makes me feel good knowing that, hey, some people are like, you know what? Actually, that did make a positive difference in my life, Brian. Thank you. So I think I'm going to stop rambling here. Really hope you enjoyed the offering. Hope you got some value out of this. Feel free to join the contest for an upcoming seat. And, of course, I'd love to see all of you in the upcoming school term program. All right, everybody, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. All the best, and bye for now.